Hi, I'm your Windy City Guide, and today is Tuesday, September 16th, 2008. Yesterday I talked about Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac and explained what they are. Today I'm going to talk about why they're important and why it's important that the government bailed them out. It's pretty simple, really. It's the reason that the United States is the wealthiest nation in the world. Seriously, let it sink in for a moment. The government's idea to create a secondary mortgage market by bundling mortgages and selling them like investments is probably the single greatest thing to create tremendous wealth in our country. There is no other mechanism for Americans to amass wealth like owning a home. You buy a home at today's price, you make payments on it that stay the same, even as you earn more money, and you pay for it with money that's worth less each year. All the while your home is increasing in value. In most cases, doubling in value every 10 years. Some folks are worried that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have sold around $1 trillion worth of loans. But just because they sold this much does not mean they, or you and me now that we've bailed them out, are on the hook for all that money. Nothing could be further from the truth. The investors that bought those loans are on the hook for them. When it happens, the value of the portfolio goes down, but by no means are taxpayers paying for the bailout. Only FHA and VA mortgages are guaranteed by the government. The number of FHA and VA loans has slowly increased from just under 4% to just under 6% of all loans written. Hardly financially devastating to our federal budget. The problems plaguing Fannie and Freddie are twofold. First, these quasi-public companies are owned by shareholders. Stock in the Fannie Mae and the Freddie Mac companies became devalued during the collapse of the real estate market. It became impossible to sell shares in the companies, and investors lost confidence that companies would stay solvent. Second, the value of the bundles of mortgages became almost worthless, as so many mortgages fell into default. Big investment companies and pensions stopped buying bundles of mortgages, and everyone in the financial industry started worrying that the whole process might just shut down. If Fannie and Freddie were not able to sell bundles of mortgages anymore, banks would run out of money to lend to home buyers, and the process of buying homes would grind to a halt. Having the government step in and take over sends the message to investors, who might buy shares in Fannie and Freddie, or their bundles of mortgages, that the full faith of the U.S. government is standing behind these companies and their products. About the most compelling argument I've heard against the government bailout is that the free market would correct these problems on its own. In the case of failing banks like Lehman Brothers and Merrill Lynch, the market is taking care of the problem. One big bank is buying the other for pennies on the dollar, and the other's heading for bankruptcy. In each of these cases, there are plenty of other banks for customers and shareholders to turn to. There are no alternatives to Fannie and Freddie. Remember, they were set up as monopolies, and there aren't lots of other companies doing the same thing. So, let's recap. Owning property is the single greatest factor in the accumulation of wealth for Americans. Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac offer a stream of cheap money for banks to use to lend to home buyers. There aren't any free market alternatives to Fannie and Freddie. And if Fannie and Freddie stopped working, the entire process of selling homes in the U.S. would shut down. Does anybody really think it's not a good idea to help these companies out? Thanks for watching. For more info, head over to my website. It's at yourwindycityguide.com.